All right, so for today's lesson, we're actually going to continue on that line of best fit and making conjectures. I'm going to do problems 2 and 3 on page 681 with you, and then you're going to have a problem to do on your own. And then that's actually going to conclude this unit. This unit didn't have a lot of information, but it is important because in the future you might have to look at a graph and make an educated guess based on the information that is given to you. So that's why it is important for us to talk about. So I am on page 681. I'm doing number 2 and number 3 with you. This is part of your homework, so I'm giving you some free answers here. So the table shows the number of calories burned when walking laps around the track. We have to construct a scatter plot of the data and then draw a line that best represents the data. So we need to first label our X and Y axis. So my X axis is laps completed. My Y axis is calories burned. So when X is 1, Y is 30. So just a little bit above 25. When X is 2, Y is 70, so just short of 75. When X is 3, Y is 80, so just put above. When X is 4, it's 112. X is 5, Y is 150. When X is 6, Y is 170. When X is 7, Y is 225. So looking at that graph, I know it doesn't say to interpret it, but it does have a positive association because when you walk a lap, obviously you're going to burn more calories the more laps you burn. So it is going to be a positive association. And then it kind of has a relative straight line, so I would also say that it is linear. Then we're going to draw in a line of best fit. So I'm going to say that's my line of best fit. And then we're going to use an equation to make a conjecture about the number of calories burned if someone walks 15 laps. All right, so we're going to use those notes that we wrote last week to solve this, to write an equation. So get those out. You might need a scratch piece of paper to show your work on, just because the book doesn't give you a ton of room. But we're going to start with step 1. So step 1, we have to pick 2 easy points on the line of best fit. So I'm going to pick I'm actually going to pick 0, 0, and this one right here. So I picked 0, 0 because if you walk 0 laps, you're not going to burn any calories. And then I also picked 7, 200. And I picked those because they were easy to identify. Then the next step, we're going to calculate our slope using m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if this is x1, this is y1, x2, this is y2. So y2 is 200. Minus y1 is 0, over x2 is 7, minus x1 is 0. So I get 200 over 7, and that would be my slope. So now in step 5, I'm going to sub my slope for m, and the equation y equals mx plus b. So in place of m, I'm going to put that, so y equals 200 over 7x plus b. And then we're going to use 1 point from the line. I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to pick 0, 0. So I'm going to use those 2 points to sub into my equation for and y. So in place of y, I'm going to have 0 equals 200 over 7. And my x was also 0 plus b. I need to simplify one side of the equation first. So 200 over 7 times 0 is actually 0 plus b equals 0. So then if I subtract 0, I get b equals 0. So now I have the equation y equals my slope, which is 200 over 7, x plus 0, or you don't even have to have the plus 0, you could just have y equals 200 over 7x. Now, that's the first step. So we wrote the equation. Then we have to use that equation to make a conjecture about if someone burns, how many calories are they going to burn if someone walks 15 laps? Well, laps represents my x-axis. So I'm going to replace 15 with x and then solve for y. So that's where I'm going to have, running out of room. Sorry that it looks so messy. Y equals 200 over 7. And in place of x, I'm going to put times 15. So then I would solve that by taking 200 over 7 and multiplying it by 15. And I typed that in my calculator and I got y equals 428 and 4 sevenths. So we could say if you walked 15 laps, you'd burn about 429 calories. Okay, we're going to move on to number 3. So we already have the scatter plot for us this time, and we also have the line of best fit. So we actually just need to write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line of best fit that is drawn. And then we'll do B as well. So my first step is picking 2 easy points on my line of best fit. So I'm going to pick this point right here. I'll pick this point right here, which is 2, 3000. And I'm going to pick this point right here, which is 7, 6000. So that's step 1. Step 2, I'm going to find the slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So, oops, y2. So y2 is 6,000 minus y1 is 3,000 over x2 is 7 minus x1 is 2. So 6,000 minus 3,000 is 3,000 over 7 minus 2 is 5. And that can actually be simplified. So I'm going to take 3,000 and divide by 5. So I get m equals 600. I'm going to substitute that in for m, and the equation y equals m is 600, x plus b. Okay, then my next step is going to be to pick a point and sum it in for x and y. So I'm going to pick, this is going to be my x, and this is going to be my y. So in place of y, I'm going to write 3,000 equals my slope is still 600 times my x value, which is 2. And then I will still have plus b. I have to simplify that left-hand side first. So 600 times 2 is going to be 1200 plus b. That still equals 3000. I will subtract 1200. B equals 1800. So now I have B and I have M. So my final answer for this is y equals my slope, or M is 600, x plus my B I found to be 1800. So there's my equation. If we were to interpret this, the slope is 600, so we're saying that every year the number of participants increases by 600. And we would also say that my B is saying that at year 0, which year 0 actually represents 1996, so in 1996, there was 1,800 participants. I'm just going to abbreviate because it starts plural. So that's kind of interpreting the slope is 600 and the y-intercept. Part B, we're going to use that equation to make a conjecture about the number of girls that will participate in ice hockey in 2020. Okay, so this one gets a little bit confusing because 0 actually represents 1996. So 1 represents 1997, 2 represents 1998, 3 represents 1999, and 4 represents 2000. So, if 4 represents 2000, 20 years after 2000 would be 2020. So I need to add 4 and 20 to see the value of x for 2020. So the value of x is 24 in 2020. So I need to use this for my x value in the equation that I wrote up above in part A. So I have y equals 600 times, I'm using my x value of 24 plus 1800. And now I just solve for y. So I would multiply first. So 600 times 24. And then I would add 1,800. And I get y equals 16,200. I typed that all into my calculator, by the way. So we would expect in year 2024, 16,200 participants. And that is number 2 and 3 on page 681. So you're actually going to take a picture of that, submit it to Google Classroom, as well as you're going to jump forward to page 700. Yes, you're going to jump quite a bit. Page 700. On page 700, you are going to do number 3, 4, and 5. So you're just going to basically do what we just did on another problem. So you are only doing 3, 4, and 5 on page 700 for your assignment. Take a picture of both and submit them to Google Classroom.